Okay guys, this is going to be part 2. If you guys missed part 1, go back and watch that. I'm going to do a short recap though. So it is February of 2029, so 5 years in the future. The world as we knew it is over. But you guys have reforged a small community. You guys are surviving. But raiders have attacked. You have to go out and you have to track these guys down with whatever you have on hand. So what do we bring? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with clothing for this one. So starting from Central U being naked, we're going to put on our base layers here. So this is going to be the U.S. Army's base layer. It's the silkies. These are the pants. And we have the top here to go with that. So that's all I'm wearing underneath my clothes. It's just that. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and reach the mid layers. Again, this is the U.S. Army's grid bottoms. These are the mid weights. So that's your level 2. And we're going to go ahead and put on the top. Now I don't have the grid. I do have the grid, but I choose not to use that. And I'm going to use this wool sweater instead. This is a USGI, I think it's a 5-button wool sweater here. These things are great. They're getting kind of hard to find though, but pick one of these up if you can. Another good option is to be the Whoopie hoodie. I do have one of those laying around here. I did a video on that too. But another good option, one I might wear instead of this. So you have to be determined. So now we're going to move on to the fun part, like gloves and socks and hats. So these are going to be just some very thick wool socks. Nothing special here. These are real trees. They've been great. Really warm, really rugged. Going to have some wool or whatever blend the U.S. military uses of glove inserts. These work very well. These are my thin gloves. These are like my level 1 base layer gloves. And of course the wool GI watch cap. Fantastic hat. I like wool hats a lot more than I like fleece. It definitely works a lot better once they get wet. So for my outer layers of gloves, I'm going to have, I think these are French Army mittens. These work pretty well. They're not 100% waterproof though, so these actually do get saturated fairly easy, but they're warm when they're not. But my favorite glove has actually been one of the cheapest ones I found. These are Manzella's. These are hunting gloves, but they are they're water resistant, waterproof. These are great. These hold off water a lot more than most other gloves I've found. So far, so good. I highly recommend these. 30 bucks. I mean, can't go wrong. And a face covering of some sort. Your face is very distinguishable, so having a way to break up that pattern and change that color on that is a really good idea. So this one is going to be a mossy oak. I think this is a bottomland or something like that pattern, but it's because it's snowing out, I can also turn this inside out and it becomes sort of a grayish white color. So we're going to get into specialty camouflages here, I think probably next. So camouflage patterns are completely dictated by your area. Don't wear what I wear, don't wear what someone else wears, wear whatever works in your area. So as you can see, I can wear M81 Woodland and it actually blends in quite well, even with a wintry background, as long as you have pine trees. This is a great pattern for up here in North America, but something else that you should always have if you live in a snowy environment are going to be over whites. So these are mitten over whites. These are stupidly cheap off eBay. But you just slide these over your gloves, your mitts. I've got a white pack cover. This is a very stretchy material. Should fit over almost any pack, even large rucksacks. I've got a over white top. I think this one is from Sweden or something like that. It's a very good over white top. The problem with it is once it gets wet, it gets kind of like see-through and silky, kind of clear. You can kind of see my finger right there. It still works though. It's not bad. And then moving on to the final piece of over white kit I have, the most important one I think are the over white bottoms. So these just slide right over any of your GI pants, and they just have a simple drawstring and buttons as well. If you have the M65 field pants, these just button right in there. So why do I say that the bottoms are most important? Well, as you can see, if I was wearing a white top right now against this brown background, I'd stick out. So the bottoms though, if you look at the behind me, the ground is white. So a lot of times you'll see me just wearing the white bottoms and a camouflage top. that's kind of how the forest is. Snow on the ground, brown background. That changes if you're in fields or if you're going down hills and your backdrop is now white. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, the absolute most important part of your layering system is going to be your outside layer. So one of my favorites and the one I wear up here a lot, especially in this rainy, drizzly, wet snow climate, is going to be the Gen 1 ECWCS Vortex Parka and the bottoms. So the outer layer is going to be most important, because if that fails, or if you pick the wrong one, everything else below it is going to get soaked and you're going to freeze. So picking a very good outer layer is incredibly vital to making this mission successful. And you'll see here, these I have strung up onto suspenders. Now, I love suspenders because they just keep everything right where it is. You don't have to have anything cinched down. And this doesn't even have a belt loop. It just has these sort of weird tightening drawstrings on it, and they don't hold very well. So suspenders, huge plus. Vortex Parka, absolutely needed up here in this rainy, cold environment. Okay, let's get into footwear. Another very important part. You can't go anywhere without your feet. So I'm going to sound like a corpsman or a medic when I say this, but guys, socks. 3-4 pairs of socks. Have spares. Make sure they're wool. Make sure they match your season. Socks cannot be underestimated. Neither can good boots. So take a look at these boots right here. Okay, so these are the USMC wrap boots. That stands for Rugged All-Terrain. So what I've done to these, I've actually replaced the laces with some 550. I took the guts out, or else the 550 doesn't want to hold very well. But these boots have been absolutely fantastic. This has been my my current winter boot for this year, and I'm loving it. They are Gore-Tex, they're breathable, and they're waterproof, and those are all needed. They also have these really nice little pull tabs in the back here, so you can go ahead and just yank them up real fast. But loving these things, highly recommended so far. So a couple other boots I've used that I really like are the U.S. Army's Gore-Tex winter boot. Those things are great. They're completely waterproof, and they're very similar to the wrap boot. They don't have the leather wrap around the outside, but good boot. Another great boot is the Air Force. I think it's the NB1. Don't quote me on that. It's the weird kind of sage green looking boot. They are completely breathable. They're wool inserts, and they also have wool insoles as well. So good boot. However, they do not do very well in wet climates. They're more for very dry, cold Arctic boots. That's actually what they're called. They're the Arctic Warfare boot. So check those out. Last time I saw them, they were like 50 bucks or something like that. So definitely worth a buy. Okay, so the very last thing I'm going to ramble on about feet is going to be snowshoes. If you live in a snowy, cold environment, you absolutely need to have a set of snowshoes. So these are the U.S. military's MSR Denali's. These have been used by the military for, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so. Pretty much highly recommended by everyone I've talked to, everyone who actually does survival stuff. And you can go ahead and watch videos on guys all over the place rocking these. These things are great. They're light. They have tons of traction. I will say there is a large downside to them. That's going to be these straps here. So the straps can deteriorate. Actually, when I got these, I got them without straps, but there were still a couple pieces of chunks of straps left, and they just literally disintegrated when I touched them. So if you get these, just be aware, get them without straps, get your own brand new straps, and come up with some way to fashion a repair, because what I've seen, you can go ahead and use 550 cord, which is my plan if these ever do break, but that's probably going to be 10 years down the road. So should have a lot of life in them, and it's definitely going to help me out on this mission. Okay, moving on to food and food rations. So remember, we're not going to be able to have things that we're used to throwing in our backpacks. So before, you could have things like these Air Crew survival rations. Fantastic, super dense. Throw Kind bars in your hiking bag all the time. Cliff bars, right? Everyone loves Cliff bars. And of course, MREs. So the problem with this is we're 5 years in the future. I highly doubt there are going to be any MREs left anywhere, because everyone's starving. You're eating everything you can. These are ready to go. So instead, we have to look at alternative means for what we're actually going to pack. So we need food that's going to last. We need food that's not going to rot, immediately in our backpacks. So I have a couple ideas here that I think are kind of realistic for what you might expect. So if you guys want to know what kind of food is available, just look back in history. Look at the Revolutionary War, look at the Civil War, look at how they used to keep food and what they ate. A big one is, of course, going to be, well, beef jerky, right? Not just beef jerky, but you know, you could jerky squirrels, you can smoke fish. Dried meats are one of the staples, and this is going to get us through a lot right here. So maybe figure out how to make smoked meats on your own. Very thin cuts. Something I want to do and maybe practice in the years to come are going to be smoking meats. So try that. Preserve the meat as long as you can. Okay guys, one of the staples that we've always used throughout humanity has been cheese, be that cow cheese or goat cheese. Now, I'm not a cheese maker, I don't know how to make cheese, but cheese can last a very long time if created and preserved correctly. Certain kinds of cheeses, like harder cheeses, seem to last longer. They can wax coat them. Something else I'm gonna look into is gonna be definitely cheese production. And you know, cheese in the future could be an absolutely invaluable item. Okay guys, after our community comes back, we're gonna have to start farming again. So, access to things like dried black beans, something hard and dry that you can keep with you. These are great. Rice is another good one. Dried seeds, these are pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, things like that. So seeds are big and beans are big. Those are things that we can grow, we can save from the harvest, use them next year. So just like everything else, dried fruits. So bananas are not local around here. I just like the taste. But we do have a lot of apples. So drying out fruits just the same way that you do, you know, seeds, things like that can preserve fruits, and that can get you through some of the winter time when you don't have any fruit and you need sugar. Great thing for backpacks, great thing for survival, and it's going to help us out on this mission a lot. Okay guys, one more thing on food. I was looking into it and I found something called hardtack. So hardtack is essentially just flour and water. It would then be formed into a sort of a biscuit shaped, it would be dried, and I guess it can last forever. Apparently there's still some from the Revolutionary War still kicking around. That's pretty crazy. It's just bread. Now, you can't find hardtack, you have to make hardtack. Apparently it tastes horrible, and in the future, our flour is going to be much more granular, right? It's going to be pulled right out of the field. So it won't be that nice white powder. I kind of want to make some, and maybe I'll do some like apocalypse cooking stuff, because that's sounding pretty cool right now. And I think it's kind of an untouched subject that a lot of people don't really think about. They always just grab their MREs and they're ready to go. But the future, it's not an option for us. So thinking outside the box. Okay, so I know I said in part 2 I was going to go ahead and get in the pack, but guys, I haven't got there yet. I am still on the outside of the pack. I'm still just barely scratching the surface of this. There's a lot to go in this. There's a lot to unpack. So you have to wait for part 3 to actually get in the pack. Next time, I promise, we're going in that pack. I'm just going to show you guys what I'm bringing. So until next time, guys, I'll see you around.